Presiding Officer, thank you very much. Presiding Officer, I have said in this chamber before, and I have also said to anyone I talk to about the Yard, that my loyalty is to the Yard, its workforce and also its future. And 2 weeks ago, when I was in the town, one of the gents who actually works at the Yard, I was chatting away to him about a number of things, about the Yard in particular, and he actually said to me that he's embarrassed to say that he works at the Yard. Now, for anyone who works in a facility to turn and say they're embarrassed to work there, I find that absolutely abhorrent, to say the least. So, this report that we've got in front of us today, I welcome this report. It's independent, it's impartial, and nobody can say that the Audit Scotland and the Auditor General are anything other than that. Sometimes the Audit Scotland reports are not comfortable reading, and this isn't comfortable reading, but it's independent, it's impartial, and I welcome it. I'm going to reference the sections from it. I also want to highlight, in 2014, I didn't expect the Yard to go into liquidation. In 2019, I didn't expect the Scottish Government to actually take the Yard on, because, once again, it was going to go into liquidation. In the summer of 2021, I didn't expect to be calling for a change of management at the Yard. And certainly in 2022, I didn't expect to be in this situation that we're in also. With the Yard going into liquidation in 2014, that was a huge blow to the workforce and also to the Port Glasgow and Inverclyde communities. I welcomed the new ownership of the Yard and I was thankful for them for coming in. They not only saved the existing jobs, but they managed to help build the Yard workforce back up. And I will be forever grateful to them for doing that. They also installed an apprenticeship scheme for the first time in many, many years. And with this, they brought in the first ever female apprentice on the tools. Now, just think about that. Just let that sink in for one moment. Now, once again, I will be forever grateful to the owners at the time for installing that apprenticeship scheme. And with these actions underway, as reported in the Audit Scotland report, there clearly were other issues going on behind the scenes, and also with the fabrication of the vessels. Now, page 10 of the report, sections 4 and 5 are actually helpful in this regard. Just quote a very small bit from section 5. Despite CMAL agreeing to FML's requests to change the contract and the Scottish Government providing financial support, FML entered into administration into August 2019. Sections 18 and 19, that's pages 17 and 18, also kind of go on to highlight. In early 2017, 18 months after CMAL had awarded the contract, FML complained to CMAL and to the Scottish Ministers about the procurement process. But section 19, there was no evidence to suggest that the tender documentation was not understood by all bidders. Pre-contract documentation, including FML's bid, suggested that FML was aware of the risks it was accepting at the point of contract award. We move on into the time when the Scottish Government took the Yard on in 2019. Section 92 of the report, and I quote, the report concluded, and this was in reference to the PwC report, the report concluded that doing nothing I'll say it again, the report concluded that doing nothing would likely result in the insolvency of FML. So, in 2019, if the Scottish Government did not step in, if they did not go in to save the Yard was going bust. The jobs were being lost. So, in reference to, hold on a minute, Mr Simpson, you can sit down a wee minute. In reference to Mr Simpson's point earlier on, and also Mr Green's point earlier on, in 2019, the Yard was shutting. The jobs were going. They were going, and the ships certainly would not have been finished. They will be finished. The ships would not have been finished. So, also, sections 96 and 97 are crucial in understanding how the Scottish Government came to own the Yard. Fundamentally, the Yard was going to shut anyway. The appointment of administrators on 9th of August 2019 highlights that. The Scottish Government also stepped in to fund the £6 million wage bill whilst it was in administration. This shows the commitment of the Scottish Government to actually help keep the Yard open and support the workforce. Section 99 of the report also highlights this. And I quote, this meant that the Scottish Government made the decision to nationalise the shipyard without a full and detailed understanding of the amount of work required to complete the vessels, the likely costs, or the significant operational challenges at the Yard. Now, I don't see how that actually can be a surprise to anybody, bearing in mind the other aspects highlighted in this section, in addition to section 3 on page 4, and I quote, that this internationally recognised contract places full responsibility and risk for the design and build of the vessels with the shipbuilder and does not allow the buyer to intervene in the running of the project. Thus, if relationships are broken down, a lack of information has been shared by, and also by law, the buyer, ultimately the taxpayer, the Scottish Government and its agencies, were not allowed to intervene in the running of the project, then I genuinely fail to see what more the Scottish Government could have done to obtain more information. Now, I want to go into CMAL for one brief moment. CMAL have come for a huge amount of criticism in recent years. And looking at the Audit Scotland report today, I sincerely hope that the CMAL staff can actually feel a sense of some of the weight actually being lifted from their shoulders, because with everything that's actually been thrown at them. They obviously had a part to play, but they're no means the core of the problem that's happened over the last few years. They are skilled people, they've got the expertise, and also they've got vast experience, and they know what they're doing. And the fact that the Audit Scotland report highlights their increasing role with the Yard going forward, I think, is welcome. And my final point, Presiding Officer, is on the workforce. The workforce at the Yard know what they're doing. And the two shop stewards at the Yard know the Yard inside out, back to front. And the Audit Scotland report talks about the additional investment required to make it competitive. And prior to FML, it was a shipyard in name, but it was actually a living, working museum. There had been a complete lack of investment in the Yard for decades, despite the ships that have been launched at the Yard. No investment had been put into that Yard for decades. So I know that the workforce, they know the skill set that's there. And I would encourage the new Chief Executive to certainly work with the shop stewards, work with all the workforce, and not sideline them that happened in the past.
Thank you very much.